Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2021 International 9-Ball Open. Sounds like everybody's ready. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. The International Open is a Pat Fleming production, and it's brought to you by Accu-Stats. As always, it comes to you from the Simonis Aramas Arena at the beautiful Sheraton Norfolk Waterside Hotel here in Norfolk, Virginia. Our great hosts for 4 years, and we thank them for their hospitality. We also want to mention our great industry partner, Diamond Billiard Products, for providing us with the best tables in the business for all 3 of our events and the juniors event as well. Thank you, Diamond, for all you do for us and for Pro Pool around the world. Thank you. Yes, very good. We've said it before, we'll mention it again because it's important. It's truly an international event when you have a 128-player field representing 22 different countries from around the globe, and whoever comes out on top of this will surely be an international champion. We've been in the knockout stage for a day and a half here. We're down to 8 players. You're going to see all of them play today. We have a match now, another one at 2. We're going to have a break this evening for our Hall of Fame banquet and a return at 7:30 and 9:30. And when we're done tonight, we will have our final 4 players for tomorrow, and we'll tell you more about tomorrow's schedule as we get into the day. So with that being said, let's introduce our competitors. Representing the Philippines, he's a former Super Billiards Expo 10-ball champion. He's sponsored by Roy's Basement and by Clutch Shot Billiards Apparel. He's having a great event. Please welcome James Aranas. His opponent, representing Kuwait. This gentleman plays all games well, and in a short period of time, he has shown his versatility in the skill games of bank pool and one pocket. He's got a couple of high finishes, both here and at the Derby City Classic and those events, and he's a threat anytime he screws it together. Sponsored by Miyuchi, let's welcome Omar Al-Shaheen. All right, gentlemen, flag for the break, if you would, please. Your official timekeeper is John Baker. We're going to send it upstairs to the comm box right now to Mark Wilson and USA Mosconi Cup captain, Double J, Jeremy Jones. Take it away upstairs, guys.
Hello and welcome, pool fans. This match calls for the best color commentator in pool today, Jeremy Jones. I'm Mark Wilson, and Jeremy, tell us something about these two guys.
Well, it's good to see James back. He's been kind of like somebody in America for the last 5-6 years, and we just hadn't seen him here in about a year or so. So good to see him back, and definitely a young talent. Omar Al-Shaheen, what do you say about the guy? He's just, maybe no one shakes off a mistake, a mistake better that I've seen than him, especially for what you would call one of the younger top players. And I think about Warren Kiamko. If you call him the warrior, right? Warrior is kind of like an experience, kind of like a gladiator kind of guy. This is the fighter. He kind of doesn't mind sometimes what it looks like.
Yeah.
He's just trying to get the W.
I really respect Omar because for a young guy, when he makes a mistake, he can still converse, and it's not contentious. It's not like it's all about me. You can see there's not a big ego with him. He just, like you said, he's just a battler, getting the job done, getting better every single year that I've seen him. First time I ever encountered him was at the Derby, and he just played everybody there, and sometimes he was in a bit over his head, but I really respected and admired the fact that he would get up and play.
Yeah, well, I think you explained it better, what I was trying to say there, Mark. Like I said, he knows it's not always the right shot, almost. You know what I mean? Like he's still learning, right? I mean, he's taught me a few things, that's for sure, but what I'm getting at is he's consuming plus trying to win at the same time. Pretty awesome.
Playing with a big, long cue. Yes, I noticed that the other day. The cue's almost as tall as he is.
Yeah, he's a shot maker. And, you know, one thing that he's learned to do, and I think I kind of noticed this when he's playing, is, you know, before when he was playing, of course, he would almost like question his own decisions in the middle. You know, you could kind of see he was fighting. Is this the right thing to do or not? And I think there's still a little bit of that, but it's more like after the match a little. He knows that great execution will certainly overcome a little bit of a bad decision.
Here you can see he has great clearance on his cue with his stance, so it swings real straight.
Yeah, he doesn't really lack much. He's got plenty of power. Obviously a straight shooter. Been in a lot of big moments. And he's had a pretty good couple of months here. Nice draw stroke here. Just needs a few feet. And that was pretty clean there. Kept the cue ball off the rail so that could, kind of show you how accurate the strike was.
Right, and that really helps these guys to get the cue ball off the rail. They can do almost anything else as long as they're not pinned to the cushion.
Yeah, this table is, I would say for the most part, not always, but going to tell two stories in a lot of matches, right? You've had some guys play pretty perfect early, breaking better than their opponent, and we've seen it switch like we always do. And the only way it really switches is how great these guys are. The guy who's not getting the rolls, the guy who's not getting shots after the break, he maintains that concentration and belief that, it only takes a few opportunities to get going. I think these next 2 days, we've already seen tons of special. I think we'll see tons more these next couple of days.
Yeah, any of these matches could easily be the final match. They're all feature bouts.
Yeah, Kenny Showman always doing those long, hard jobs.
Yeah, thankless too.
Yeah.
You can get criticism, but you never get gratitude.
And we have, I think it's down to the final 6 in each of the juniors events. I think that's what I saw and heard. That's between 6 ladies and then 6 young men.
Omar Al-Shaheen opened up with a break and run to start this match.
Yeah, we got all kinds of stuff going on here today at the Waterside. 2 of the greats to be inducted later on into the Hall of Fame, Thorsten Holman and Kelly Fisher. Now, this is a kid, when I first saw him, I felt his upside was just about as high as anyone's. Great understanding of what's going on the pool table. And, the one thing that, I think James will tell you, I've talked to him a lot, after big matches, both wins and losses, still fights his nerves at times, and you'll see him take extra time and it'll almost be obvious what he's trying to do. Make sure he, is focused mentally and as clear-headed as he can be. Beautiful stroke, though.
Really smooth on his transition from backswing to foreswing. I've always marveled at that with Aranas. Mainly I know him from high-stakes matches, serious matches, and nerves is a part of it because you care. It doesn't mean that you're afraid to compete. It just means you're uncertain about the outcome and you care that much. If you're not nervous, you don't care enough.
Yeah, they want that time that they spend training and getting ready for this to mean something as much as anyone. Aranas, I think he's kind of a hybrid of today's new Filipino players and yesteryears a little bit. Today's new ones, they're a little more structured with technique and cueing and whatnot, and still has that flow and really goes through the rack like the Filipino players of yesteryear, in my opinion. Really knows the track of the cue ball. And what's he do here? Does he draw back and forth a couple rails? Can he hold it one rail? This is close because he's pretty steep. Oh, well, that shows you he's pretty comfortable, so willing to take this long shot.
Going back to his form, this is what he reminds me of. Someone that's got much more orthodox technique, but the way that he moves his cue reminds me exactly of the same tempo and speed and movement of Luat, Rodolfo Luat.
Right.
It's got that fluid, just flows through, very accurate power.
Yeah, you could say, James is much longer man, even though he's not real long, but much longer to Luat. But even Luat being a shorter guy, he always felt long with the stroke. And you know what I mean?
Well, those guys have long bridges because they play on super slow tables, So, and Luau really would flow. He was known as Boy Samson for his break strength.
Yeah, his break strength was awesome. He would have his hand up in the air without the palm on the felt, but never really, him and James and Luau. It'll be obvious when they get quick. That's how clean the stroke is.
Well, both players with a break and run out to open the match. 1-1 is our score.
Trying to think of James' biggest finish. I think right before pandemic. Did he win the Vegas Diamond or was he a finalist there? He may have just been a finalist to Neil's fan is how it went down. What a crazy week that was.
Yeah. Yeah. That was my first exposure to the mask. Corey Deuel, he was all cinched up there all of a sudden.
Yeah, Corey seems to be ahead of everyone else in the world on knowing what to do.
On some things.
Yeah, right. Hey, if you want to have a clue on how to get better, Ralph Souquet out of the tournament 2 days in a row back there hitting balls. Not sure what they have coming up in Europe. I thought they just had the European Championships. Now Al-Shaheen to break in game number 3. You wouldn't figure he would change much.
Extreme left side of the box.
All right. Little thicker hit. And that's kind of the break, if it does work, that everyone would like to have. That low outside kind of pulling the ball past the middle of the table. But the problem is you're not making the one on the side with that thick hit very often. The good thing is you do draw shape. It's just a matter if you're going to make other balls, and he's made 3 here. So maybe a little rail first here, Mark. It looks pretty straight, and the rail first doesn't look too difficult.
I think it allows you to float the cue ball, rather, so then that makes that pocket play more generous when you have to go rail first.
Yeah, and he doesn't have to go very far, so that even kind of goes with what Mark said right there. When you can play a light stroke, you can slide the ball in. You can really gauge how it's going to come off the rail, that cue ball, before hitting the object ball. All right. Early in the match, type of shot that you better pay attention to. Easy to bobble if you're trying to stun up for the 5 in the side. If he hits it clean, it shouldn't be a problem. Oh, he played for the corner, and I like that. If that's available, I like it.
Offered a lot of control. You could just use economy of speed, hold the angle, stun over. Wants a little angle on the 6 anyway.
Yeah, and the thing is, right, these players don't want to think negative, of course, but you have to be able to evaluate that, hey, shooting that ball in the corner and trying to come for the side, just every so often you miss that ball doing that. So no reason to, you don't want to sit here and say I'm going to miss a ball. That's for sure. But you do have to make good decisions, thinking objectively, I guess, is the best way to look at it.
Yep. Looks like we're going to see a third consecutive break and run out here by these two.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's almost like the table knows, hey, let me be a little generous here at the beginning of the match to get these guys in a stroke, and then let me take those balls away on the break here about the middle or end of the match.
Yeah, perfect start to this match. Both players playing 1,000. Going along with what you were talking about, the percentages, these guys all make all the shots, so it's just those little fragments of percentages that add up over the duration. And Jim Rimpey said it like this, and it was really good. He says, Mark, suppose you're playing the 80% shot. Just suppose. And when he said that, I'm thinking 80%, pretty good. I kind of like it. And he says, but how far do you think you'll run if you play 180%?
After another, yeah.
Well, no, per rack. Just 180%. playing straight pool, 180% shot. You only get just over 40 or 56 balls because every fifth one you miss.
Right.
So you're never going to run 100 playing 80% ball.
Yeah.
And it was so what that meant was, Mark, you've got to work harder on getting better position. I was settling for 80% shots sometimes, and then wondering why my runs would never get up there where he's
Very
at.
high, yeah.
But I wasn't working as hard to get the cue ball closer. It was really interesting what he had to say. I really admired that and never forgot it.
Yeah, it kind of relates to me. Like, I'm a sports guy. Sports, especially baseball, always just kind of mesmerized by the game. But I wonder why, like, it's not just stealing to sit here and bet on, like a 2-team parlay, like 2 of the big favorites every day.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they lose enough to where it just, if you do the long term, it doesn't make sense. So.
Yep.
The problem with that is there aren't any really, 100% shots all the time. You got to gamble a little bit here and there, but I guess straight pool is one of those games that when you get in stroke and you're such a great player, you can really minimize the variance.
Right. Shot there.
I think from what I heard, Irving Crane was the guy that did that as well as anyone. Could win titles, playing safe probably in percentages more than any other player.
And he had the super offense. It was like a boa constrictor get a hold of you.
Yeah.
He just never let loose. He'd play a couple good safeties. He knows where you got to put the ball, and he was willing to take the shot. And then when he made it, he hurt you. But he would beat you to the shot.
And from what I heard, he could shut it down easily. Also, he was a guy who'd run 100 and something, and then if he didn't like it, he's just going to go ahead and play safe on you, which is hard to do. You get the run going, and
yeah.
All right, both these guys looking good. It's a little flat to stun across, so I suggest, again, remind yourself how good you are. Pull it back. Take a little more distance if you feel you need. Should be able to get it back past the side a little bit, though, right, Mark?
Yeah. Right.
Ooh.
He overhit this.
Ooh, he's going to need a little help.
And maybe got it. Yeah, it looks like he did on the overhead.
Yeah, a little quick there.
He might have to overrun the cue ball here a little bit. He might have to play this differently. It might not easily go into the side because it's a pretty thin hit on that 6.
Yeah, I'm wondering, with a little right check.
Yeah.
I think if he doesn't mind floating the ball. Hey, and listen, don't do it if you don't like it. You can always come 2 rails underneath the 7. It goes in the upper right and the side. So, This is one situation where you might say killing the ball is correct. But if you don't like it, don't work. Don't think you got to do it.
Smooth, and boy, he handled that. He made that look easy. Look at that. Ball in hand position now on the 7.
Yeah, well, those guys, when they get close to it, they can really manipulate the cue ball. Same kind of stroke here a little bit anyways, or in theory, kind of killing it, pinching it.
Now, this is just a blistering pace here. This would be like a marathoner goes out and sprints the first mile or something.
Well, both these guys, from what I recall yesterday, made some comebacks. So I think that has a little something to do, some confidence, knowing, they can win for sure from any position, but that helps going on with matches. I got a great start so far.
4 consecutive break and runouts, and very clean. Going back to Irving Crane, Mike Seal told me, he goes, I was a kid and I wanted to play him, and I went over there to play him, and I was excited, and he said he agreed to play me. He says the first shot he run 200 balls and played safe.
Yeah.
and he was so disappointed. He was hyped up to play, and instead Greenleaf smothered him. And then Minnesota Fats always talked about how he was kind of renowned as a defensive player. He'd go, Irving Crane, he's so boring. If Lady Godiva come riding by, he'd know what kind of horse she's riding.
That's funny.
Yeah. Fats, it was funny. Fats never played in his league, but you wouldn't know it to hear Fats tell it.
Yeah, Red told me a lot of stories about Fats. He truly loved the guy.
Nick Varner said he played him 500 a game and in 1969 and 1970, and that was big money then. And Nick ended up beating him, but it was close. He said he played way better than people give him credit for.
Yeah, that's what Red always told me. In tournament, he's not getting there, but in the action room, he matched up pretty well where he had a chance, and he played well for money.
Yep.
And our first big mistake in the match, and that one was on him a little bit. Caught the one a little heavy, but maybe that's the break he's going for, a little heavier hit on the one.
Ball in hand now for Aranas. Just going to have a nice, smooth delivery here. Just slide the cue ball across. Got just a nice angle where you can keep the cue ball in the middle.
Yeah, this is ideal, actually. The problem is the 6 doesn't pass. That's what he's really trying to think over. It doesn't pass the 9. It may have a very, very small portion of the pocket going by the 8, but I don't think so. So what do you think here? Come close? Yeah, I'd like to try and get tidied up on this 5 a little bit. I think he's off angle, though, Mark. Yeah, this is touchy. Drawing it comes right towards that right side pocket, and it really doesn't get you anywhere.
I think he was wanting to get down below it and play it in one of the far corner pockets, but now that's going to be tough to do.
I mean, is there anything good about coming one rail? It looks like that's the angle right at the 9. I mean, if you want to gamble and try and get shape.
I think that's going to be the most conservative path.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
besides
a risky
playing
shot,
safe, right? Or besides playing maybe a safety. Now, he can follow with high inside, try and come 2 rails below the 9. He's got to have a really good speed there. That's the one I saw. He didn't put any side spin, though. Just straight high wasn't going to get him there. All right, probably dresses the cue ball up on the 8 here. And the good thing about doing that is the 9 and 7 are really precluding possibly that cross-corner kick. So myself, I probably keep it simple, play a very soft safety on the 8 here.
That looks to be the most routine of safety plays. And this is all cue ball, and you just don't want that 6 ball right on the cushion. You want it up a little bit. Settled it in.
Yeah, you see this 9 and 7 really helping kind of limit the kick shots. So even though the pros like to stay away from this kind of safety, something that's, kind of soft safety.
Yeah.
Yep. I think it was the right play. It was simple, and keep your guy kicking.
Omar has very little choice but to go after the pocket with this one, and this is a tough ball to pocket.
Yeah, well, he's got to kick up high and come down with English. So if he hits it full, I think he's got a good chance to maybe bang it around and leave a little bit of a tough shot, maybe get a snooker. See how he's aiming right there to come into it full?
Yep.
So I think if he didn't have to put spin, Mark, he probably kicks flat and tries to make the ball. But with spin, I think he feels like I got a little more room for error trying to hit this 6 full from this angle and get it up to the middle of the table. Maybe the cue ball slides behind the 7. He caught the top of it, so past fluking it in. That wasn't going to work. Yeah, James, be very careful trying to move the cue ball to the center. I don't think I'd take much chance there. Not saying it's difficult, but I think I just try to kill on the side rail like that.
Checked it up with inside spin.
Ball first here. Don't baby it. Only way you can really get in trouble. He killed it 1 rail. Nice shot. So it looks like Mr. Aranas will kind of break serve first and be breaking. Game number 6.
Routine 9 ball, but you notice how much care they even put into this ball. And I think some people take that shot for granted because they no longer have to play position. And so rather than actually control the cue ball, they change their thinking, and that contributes to choking or dogging it when you change what you've been doing. And I'm not saying play exotic position with the cue ball. I'm just saying, but you should still have a plan for the cue ball in that last stroke.
Yeah, that's why you almost always see, and like amateurs, for instance, me and Billy talked about this exact scenario. Amateurs, what they do is you'll see them really get kind of, I hate to say lazy on the 9. That's not the right way, but they don't get as detailed. When they're running those 5-6 balls, they get detailed with the cue ball as far as position. So you just get a little better and focused. And that's why you see pros with the 9 being around the spot so much. They do what James did right here. When they're above it, they either go 1-2 rails top English to the end rail, or they wrap the corner 3 rails to the end rail. And they're not playing safe just in case they miss. But when they go to that end rail so instinctively with the cue ball, they're detailing what they're doing with the cue ball. So everything kind of matches up better. Right. It's kind of more what they're doing every shot, just like you were talking about.
When you shift values from this is the final ball and I win, rather than I've got to still handle the cue ball and do what I've been doing.
Yeah, that's why you'll see a lot of times the amateur players will complete the run when they have somewhat of a scratch shot on the 9 or something like that, where they know they have to address the cue ball a little bit. They usually get a little better, to be honest with you.
I don't know if he can see the edge.
Maybe just a hair, but not to make it. I think it's got to be the kick shot here. Unless he wants to swerve.
It's pretty close. He's down looking at it.
James is not opposed to swerving, and I think that's what we're seeing right here. Or at least he's feeling it, right?
Right. He looked like he was measuring up with some left spin.
Yeah, I can look right down the line. He can definitely see a little piece, but I think it overcuts the 1. The key to this swerve is let the keel do its thing. You don't let up on it. Make sure you get through the ball. Oh, he swerved it too much.
Yeah, well, he
deflected too much.
He got quick. I mean, wasn't a smooth get through the cue ball stroke that I'm used to seeing. That was a little sensitive.
I'm really surprised the kick shot was sitting so nice. Very surprised he didn't play the kick there. He had the 6, he had the 4. Easy route to get the 1 on the end rail.
I think it was that 2 ball was so enticing he couldn't wait.
Right? Well, he's good at it too. I've seen him play the subtle swerve tons.
Boy, this is a ugly circumstance to play from. You're jacked up in the pocket. The 3's right there. You know you're going to collide into it.
Oh, but that's the worst thing there.
And he got super quick on his transition. If there was a capacity to relook at that, you'd see.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Short and abrupt.
You want to stay aggressive. If he can't make it in the corner, which I think he can actually, I would certainly come long rail with this one myself. And that's the long rail bank back underneath him. But I think he can get at the right side of the 1 to make it. They collide with the 2.
Pretty shot. Beautiful.
Yeah, that's more of that sweet stroke you're wanting. Big game here early. After that scratch on the break, a little miss there from Al-Shaheen. James's miss is one thing. He had to curve the cue ball a little bit. But Al-Shaheen, as tough as it was to get on the 2, you can't be missing the 1. You have to keep that control. So a huge game here, and I want to see what happens in the break shot next for Omar. 2 rails around the 9.
Yes. Oh, nice speed, too, with it. That's one of those, if you don't hit the pocket right, you can lose your speed control on that real easy because you got to kind of thump it into the pocket with a big swing. If you hit the pocket fat, it takes pace out of the cue ball. And if you hit the pocket thin, the cue ball goes clear down by the 6.
2 rails back and forth, no reason to flirt with the 9, I don't think anyways. He could heavy spin it with inside, I guess, but I think he takes a chance of getting straight. That's the shot I liked right there, yeah. Of course, he'd love to be off the rail, but the 6 is okay. Again, these players, it's amazing what a caddy would do, in my opinion. I mean, like, These guys are awesome. But if they had somebody out there in their ear that they trusted, I mean, I think the level would be, we'd maybe have to change to like 4-inch pockets, I think, maybe. I don't know. But like we always talk about, if your opponent left you that shot, you'd be through the roof thrilled.
Yeah.
And there he was a little,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say mad about it or anything, but he just wasn't totally in love with being on the rail.
Yeah, just those little reminders. I agree with you. I mean, Kevin Trudeau had the right idea. He allowed you to have a corner man. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, and I think we could still do that here. Maybe it can't be a shot-for-shot corner man. Golf, they get a little 4 or 5 minute walk between each shot. So, I mean, there's a lot of time there, right? But it could certainly be a once a game, in between games kind of thing that I think would be a pleasant dynamic to our sport. And I always said I think our sport grows even more when we create more jobs, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we're not quite there yet, but we're going that direction.
4-2, Aranas over Al-Shaheen. Al-Shaheen, the best player from Kuwait, top player. I'll tell you, they had some others here this week make some noise.
Have you ever been to Kuwait?
No, actually, Omar was kind of setting me up some teaching over there before pandemic. It looked like it was probably going to happen, maybe, but Johnny and I almost went some 20 years ago. We went to the UAE. We went to Dubai and Fujairah and Abu Dhabi for the World 8-Ball Championships, the first time they had it there. And we met a lot of the Kuwaiti players back then. Almost made a trip way back then to kind of spar with those guys and, help them as much as we could.
Well, he made sure he got the cue ball back past the side pocket that time, but it also took away maybe from making the one ball on the side, as you suggested, when you hit him fuller.
Yeah, I think it lends towards a little more guaranteed shape. But like I said, I don't think most of the guys that are trying to make the one, that's the ball they're depending on a little bit for any kind of consistency on the break.
He moved 7 balls out of the rack to the other end of the table past the side pockets, but nothing found the pocket.
I tell you, with the 7 hanging and the 2 near, hard to not want to be offensive on this shot, even though I don't know if that's what he's doing. Oh, nice shot. Boy, what a tough kick this is going to be.
What a nice shot that was. That was all cue ball there. He wasn't playing to make the one.
Yeah, 2 rails around the 2.
Very nice. Not going to be rewarded, but it was a good effort.
Now, he's a little on the wrong side of this, meaning if he misses the 1 on the 7 a little bit, the 1 could lean over to the end rail, maybe not get shape. I think if he hits it firm, it's a little gamble as well, so he may just have to play a real light one here, Mark.
Just hold the cue ball or one ball right in front of the pocket.
A nice shot. Mika Immonen on the outer tables getting ready for his match. Talked to him last night a little bit. Seems like in a good place, and we both agreed that I thought the format now, since it's kind of 1 match a day until tomorrow, it's only 2 matches, I think makes him a very dangerous guy.
I really like the format adjustment here. That's 32 players, single elimination.
Well, I think you're going to see much more of the single elimination heading forward. The professional pool.
The only reason we ever did double eliminations is there were so few events and it was so far to travel for a lot of guys. But in this case, there's 2 months of tournaments, so it's totally worth it. And nobody would object to any format if you could actually go travel and get enough pool playing in and have a chance to make a living.
Yeah, you can chalk it up. Of course, they're trying hard, but you can chalk it up to, hey, it wasn't my week, but I have next week now.
Yep.
That's kind of the mentality we all want to see. That's actually going to bode well for seeing the best pools also, I think. Little straight here, so got to have good control. He'd like to broaden the angle, be able to draw the cue ball a little to the right side, but I think he's dead straight, so a little short is okay. Ooh, he was even the other way, so that kind of made him feel a little better about things. But he's gotten funny, and I still may have been a little more passive because he could easily have dropped off the 4 behind the 5.
I think he's going to go in the. No, he's going in the side. I thought he might go in the corner just to preserve the angle with the cue ball.
Going all, oh,
Inside.
interesting.
Side.
Perfect now to come one round, bump the 8.
And that's a shot that if you were down there playing it, Jeremy, you would have played it exactly the same way.
Yeah.
But from up here, you kind
It's
of
hard
get
to see, yeah.
Right. You would have recognized that's the easiest way to get there.
No need for any side spin. Like I said, if he bumps the 8, it's fine. Oh, he didn't bump the 8. He expected to bump the 8. He got into it a little more, of course, but actually made a better stroke getting through the ball. Whew, man, Mark, if it wasn't stretched, I'd say he's a favorite to cut this in. But, man, with the stretch, it's pretty tough.
It is tough. But you can see how thin he's got to back cut this. These pockets are not forgiving.
No, he's playing safe. That's how tough it is. Trying to use the 8.
Oh, good shot there, I thought.
Oh, that's good. I mean, he may have left a little of the 6, but not a whole lot. All right, he's going to try and bank it back, it looks like. Trying to use the 9 with a little outside English. He can cut this a bit to move the cue ball. He hit it thick to move the cue ball, yeah. On that one, you have to recognize, right? I can bank that all the way, near the 8 and go to the end rail and still be fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you get a lot more cue ball travel to get behind the 9 that way.
Right.
The middle of the end rail is usually where you want it, but don't. Sometimes we get those scenarios where you can go a lot of places with that object ball.
The difference here is that you're a one-pocket guy and he's not.
Yeah, well, yeah. And I'm, 100 years old and he's 20 or whatever it is, but oh, beauty there. Beauty there.
That was a dandy shot.
Yeah. James, some players excel one way or another, and most of them have it all, but always liked him a little more with the top English than the draw. And you can see, right here, he's gathering his nerves. It's something that the young man still is dealing with, and that's a good thing in my mind. He's prepared, he wants it, and he's fighting through it.
He knows when to take an extra moment. Make sure he gets this ball down.
And both these guys are going to be two of the best guys for our sport the next couple decades or so.
And good character guys, too. Kind of guys I like to see in our sport. Good job there. 5-2 was our score. That was a big game.
Yeah, both guys playing at a nice pace. Look at that, 9:35. Position error a couple times. 43 balls pocketed on the Q-Tech Synergy TPA. All the matches are on the main table here today. We'll have 4 of them. That'll take us to our last 4 players, actually, of 2 semifinals tomorrow and then the final tomorrow evening.
Let me just tell you what's up. Right here, we've got Al-Shaheen Aranas. And then the next matchup will be Dennis Grabe and Dennis Ercolo. Then at 7 o'clock tonight, we have 7:30.
SVB.
SVB and Shinoff.
I think going to be one heck of a match.
And then it's tonight at 9:30. It'll be Ocean and Immonen. That will get us down to our top four. Boy, this is a big match here. Each of these players has $4,000. Next stop, $9,000.
Yeah, huge jump. And still has that barrel left to win the tournament, right? That life.
Right. Yeah, it could go deeper.
It's a race to 13 in the final tomorrow evening. Still same format otherwise, alternate break. Okay, so 2 different breaks for these guys. James playing the, heavier cut on the one, or more cut, let's say that. Really trying to, play the one. I think he threatens a non-complying break a little more maybe than Omar.
Mm-hmm.
But I think maybe makes the ball in the break a little more often as well. Boy, he'd like to have that one every time. Really, no threat of not complying. The one flew in the side. He's got a tough shot here on the 2.
Yeah, it's not so difficult to pocket. It's challenging, but it's the cue ball. I think he almost has to just float it to the cushion and just bounce out. Put the cue ball right where the 2 is.
Super light stun, and I totally agree with that. And I think James will as well. No reason to draw back straight. You want a little angle on the 3 anyways.
And that side pocket's big if you try to draw. He was cueing way low, but I think he realizes now he better not try that trick.
Yeah, well, James will hit it like a drag, that's a little different than some. Oh, sweet. And it opens up the pocket a little bit.
That was a really nice shot there.
Well, go ahead, Mark.
Much like you said, he got all the way through the cue ball. So even though he had a little more pace on there, it took right away, and it kind of still deadened up the cue ball because he flowed through it. It wasn't rolling.
Well, James is another one that'll throw the cue occasionally. Usually a stun is one of the biggest shots you'll throw the cue. Watch Neil's fan. It's amazing. He throws it about 5-6 inches when he stuns the ball. And James, like the 2 ball, that's where developing a stroke is so important. I kind of felt like the stroke made the ball, kind of opened the pocket up a little bit.
Yeah, perfect speeds.
All right, a little draw stroke here. Love to have the cue ball where it's at now. No reason to threaten coming back straighter and get on the rail or something funny. May come back to the rail, though, like that, yeah.
Usually when they do that, it means the speed control is easy to handle if you play it that way as opposed to try to just go straight to that point.
Yeah, and I've always found that, helps my nerves a little bit. Not saying I'm blasting the ball or anything, but I'm just making a full fluid stroke and, have a nice line on the cue ball. And it does definitely help the speed. A good stroke, you can go into that rail and it's never going to get away from you. So James sending a little message here to Al-Shaheen that mistakes aren't going to be
tolerated.
Exactly. Good word for me there, Mark.
This will be his 3rd break and run out of the match. So out of 6 games, Aranas has broken and run out 3, and he's played pretty darn good in between time. TPA will be creeping north.
Yeah, and the break, it can come and go, but we know as a whole for these guys to get to this position that they've been breaking pretty successfully overall.
Aranas is 29 years old, and I was looking up. He had first place in the, let's see, what year is that? Doesn't say. Brendan Crockett Memorial, and he had first place in the TTMD 10-ball open. Those are his 2 highest finishes, but he has a litany of seconds, thirds, top finish, big money finishes.
Yeah, bigger events, too. He hasn't quite had that huge win, like so many of these guys are trying to get. It's hard.
Now, knocking on the door, though.
Yeah.
Look at that. 5 in a row now for Aranas.
Yeah, man, time flies. Mark, I would have never guessed 29. I think I met James when he was 22, something like that. In the last, like I said, year and a half, we haven't seen as much of him. Of course, we all know what's going on with the world, so that makes sense.
Now let's see what Al-Shaheen does with his break here. Last time he got into it pretty heavy.
He's still going with the heavier hit. Now, some of the guys, excuse me, Mark, they feel like with the side spin, they can push the corner ball in with that heavier hit. All right, we're going to see a nice draw stroke here. I think the 3's on the bottom rail. Yeah, so he can't just stop. Now, he doesn't have to come back a ton. He doesn't want, but I think he will.
6 ball's a problem, too.
Oh, that's a clean
no
hit.
problem there.
Yeah.
Good shot. Good shot.
Well, it's kind of what I was saying before about Omar, and I think why he just keeps, winning matches as a hair of an underdog is even some of the greats, hard to leave a mistake behind for them, where he does that very well.
Yeah.
That's why I say if you label Warren the Warrior, maybe because it goes with his first name, but it sure does fit. But
Yeah.
I'd have to label Omar the Fighter.
Yeah.
Just like you talked about at the Derby a few years ago, he came in fighting. And there was a purpose involved. He was looking to get his feet wet a little bit and start to figure out American pool, I think. Now, this is a touchy shot in the side.
Right.
If you're tidied up on it, it's one thing. You're like close to it. But otherwise, if he can cheat this a little bit and pull the ball a little closer,
Yeah.
not saying it's necessary, but sure wouldn't hurt. Yeah, so now he's gotten, in my opinion, a little funny both ways.
Right. On that particular shot, I like to bring the cue ball around and back cut it and then bring the cue ball all the way
It
down
almost
3
makes
rails.
sense.
Yeah.
It almost makes sense to come into the pocket a little lighter with the 3-rail position. I know that sounds like it's not lighter, but it actually is because you're cutting the ball thin, right? So, but this is what I worried about going into the side is everything was going to be a little tricky. Watch out for that side pocket. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Clearly he hit it good because it hung up, but that was the problem when you get flat on there to get that cue ball out of there.
Yeah, and he put low right, and, it was going at a high speed, so it was hard for me to tell. But I bet he got underneath it a little bit and threw it to that top point. That's the only way I can kind of figure with the low right he misses it.
That's how it was, too.
Yeah, that's what kind of I thought. Well, what happens is, again, just don't realize when the ball's on the rail, you have to aim a little thicker than you think, especially if you're coming backwards with the cue ball. If you're going forward, it's a little different for some reason. I don't know why, but kind of like the yo-yo drill we use, going back and forth past the side. You'd be amazed how thick you hit the ball. Big 9 ball here for Aranas. Stroke getting cleaner and cleaner.
Good straight backswing there. Beautiful shot. 7-2 is our score now. Yeah, that really hurt Omar. It was a big difference. Would have been 6-3 had he completed those last 2 balls. Instead, 7-2. 9:47 now for Aranas.
8:06. Just it's a little low, but it's a little bit of opportunity at the table, plus some mistakes, of course.
Scratch on the break, and then that 8 ball right there. This is a race to 10. Jeremy and I always dream of having an event like this once per month. How sharp the players would get from being able to compete and train in this fashion.
Yeah, well, the money's going to improve. Of course, we always compare it to golf, and I don't see the reason there besides the similarities in the sport. But the money side of it is one thing. But you'll definitely see a different level once the more events go up, the money goes up. Guys will hire eyes to pay attention to what's going on with their game, and now he's got a little window on the 2 here, Mark, and the 3's kind of agreeing with this shot coming down for shape.
I was wondering if he could see enough of it to make it. If he could, it's not a bad scoring opportunity.
No, I think he can see enough. Now, the thing is, he can't put right spin, I don't think. I think he's flirting with hitting the 8 if he puts right spin. So he may just have to level out and kind of come 1 or maybe a slight 2 rails at the 3.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. Well, now the 6 is a little in the way. He's got to make a funny decision here.
Yeah, and the reason Jeremy, he's talking about going 2 cushions, the 6 is just a little bit in the way to go 2 cushions out of the corner and then pick up the 3rd cushion just past the side pocket where he's standing now. Oh, he was able to do it.
Yeah, but it wasn't a draw. That's the shot you have to learn. He used a heavy right English so he could hit the ball thicker to change the tangent line and agree with the shot. Drawing off the natural hit on the 3, the 6 was kind of in the way.
Now he's got to go forward here. I don't know if he can get to the end rail and get on top of the 5 or he has to go beneath the 5, but it looks like he has to go forward.
Yeah, and if he's dead straight, that's the one he doesn't like. If he's got a hair of an angle underneath the 5, not too bad. The problem is the 7's a kind of a big ball getting down, so it depends on where he gets on the 5 to get down here on the 6. No reason to elevate here and go crazy, though. You're playing great. You're up. Ooh, he is elevating. So remember this.
I think he's going to rethink that.
I do too, because
here's a great look at the angle.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, just follow your ball to the end rail. Not perfect, obviously, but doable. Yeah,
just play the long 5. Just accept the long 5 and just get on a decent hair.
No, it's for us to sit here and say, keep control of the table, James, right?
Right.
And he's fallen absolutely perfect. I mean, he's made it as least a missable ball as possible, and he's gained just enough angle to get to the good side of the 6. So I wouldn't say this is where you'd put it with ball in hand, but if you wanted to follow your ball, this might be where you put it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nice stroke. Watch out, 9.
It'll be fine.
Got a little thinner than he wanted, so He's
close to the pocket, and he can check it up with a little bit of left too. So I think he can really.
I think he goes up and down though.
Oh, you think it?
I think so. If you look at the table, it's pretty thin. If you look at the table itself. Now the thing here is it doesn't grab as much, so make sure you get a little tip of left on here. Don't want to go towards that corner. See how it turned over a little bit there?
Without that little bit of, he might have overhit it. Without that little bit of left, he goes near the drink right there, and he'd be down the tube. So he was aware of that, just like you stated.
And the other thing is he didn't overhit it. He allowed that little bit of left to take.
It's a weird angle here.
Yeah. But the key to this is just don't let up. You don't want to, bleed over here 2 rails and get on the rail with the cue ball. Yeah, make sure you get this 3rd bounce that way. If you end up a little thin, that's okay. But you don't want to end up long, right and straight in on the rail, right, with the cue ball. Could be a big momentum swing in this match. And I'll tell you what, it looks like that's kind of what Al-Shaheen may need. Looks like to me the end rail is kind of bouncing a little more than it has the last couple of days.
It's raining outside.
Yeah, it's rained all night as well. You're going to love seeing him take this time right here. Don't think there's any real scratch unless he plays a little left English. It should be a hair of right or straight center.
Boy. That really hurts Al-Shaheen right there. That's his 4th break and run out of the match.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a timeout from Omar, and very wise. I have been informed, like I always am, from many good people on the internet, that the European Championship starts November 1st. So that makes sense to me why Ralph's over there. I don't know how many of them he has, but he's looking to get another one.
Yeah.
I would bet he's got double-digit wins. Now here's our TPA. balls pocketed. That's the one that Mark always talks about. Of course, there's a few more errors from Al-Shaheen, but very one-sided on what you'd say the good side of things for this TPAR.
Yeah, 63 to 25 balls pocketed. That's all you really need to know.
Oh, and that little number down there with that dot in front of it from Aranas, 955.
Huge.
Yeah.
3 errors out of 63 balls pocketed.
Well, now what is it, 8-2? And I don't recall a higher score for a player after they have had 8 games won. I don't recall it. Now, We've had some higher scores early in the matches, but James has got 8 already, and he's at 955. So break performance, look at that as well. 1,000 for 1,000 for Aranas.
And 4 of them resulted in a break and run.
Yeah, you always look at, try to look back at one shot, right? But that's not really the case. But that 7 ball in the corner right there, even though he still trailed by a few games, that was a huge one. And Mark, you've been around, a little longer than I have, of course, and I didn't kind of start playing until a later age. But, I look at, a guy back there, I don't know him, but he's talking to Ralph. But I've seen this all week, and I've seen it in many other tournaments. It's amazing, and I feel this way anyways, that how much more the players talk between each other about mechanics and different things and pluses and minuses compared to years ago.
Completely agree. It used to be that we were a little bit more egocentric, I think, and trying to preserve our little bit of turf or whatever notoriety individuals had. But today's game, the guys are more confident, more assured, and so they're not afraid to share a little something. And sometimes they get something back from sharing, too. And it certainly adds to the fan enjoyment, too, because it's not a contentious thing as much as it used to be. It's both guys try hard and want to win, but they realize that, at the end of the day, there's some fortunes that are going to happen. You're going to have to lighten up a little bit there, Francis, and just accept it.
Right. Well, I think the players these days realize the importance of technique and shot selection and all kinds of things. It's pretty fun to watch.
Much of that information was unavailable. There was no such thing as internet or pool instruction for the most part. That was unheard of, or what constitutes proper ideal mechanics and why. That wasn't widespread. So anyway, better time, much more consistent performances with the elite players. And the elite players of yesteryear would have been top-tier players today. They would have gotten better, too. They just didn't have anything more to push them back then. They blazed the trail then, and these guys are blazing the trail today, and it's always escalating upward.
Yeah, genius years ago is the same genius today, in my opinion, and hard work is the same. It's just a matter of how everything and everyone has evolved.
Yeah. I really think Shane Van Boning's disciplined work ethic kind of, carried over and filtered out into the world, not just American pool, but everywhere.
Well, I kind of felt like also maybe players felt like, they could work hard, but our sport was so difficult, it was still going to be very hard to dominate. You know what I'm saying? It is. There's not enough tournaments, plus it's just that hard a sport. And then Shane came along and kind of showed you that, of course, he's one special dude. There's no doubt about that. But he kind of showed you that it can happen.
Yeah.
In the early mid-'90s, Johnny kind of dominated a little bit. Of course, Nick Varner there for a good spell dominated. But as a whole, very hard, I think, in our sport to dominate. Even here, we're in a great format, race to 10, but you could still see very hard to have a big edge in a race to 10 with these guys.
Right here, Al-Shaheen's opponent has 4 breaking runs. You're going to 10. That's tough to beat if the guy's playing good behind it.
Yeah. Could be SVB up there trying to break down 8-2 in this scenario also. It's just the players are unreal. All right, he is definitely playing the thicker hit and trying to push the corner ball in. You see all that heavy side spin. Of where most of the players are playing more of a flat cue ball with just straight draw, trying to cut it a little more and make the one. Now James is close to it. So when you're close to it, you feel like you can be pretty accurate. Either going to take a serious cut shot, he may play the bank. I wonder if there's an element of safety with the bank, Mark. Can you draw your ball here and cut this? Can you draw this to the left of the 9, maybe? I like the cut myself.
Yeah, I think he's going to play the cut, and I think he's even thinking about dislodging the. Maybe not. I don't think he needs to move the 4. If he did need to move the 4, this would be the shot to do it with.
Well, I think it kind of goes that direction if he plays the cut, and this is another one. He'll try to kill it a little bit, slow it down a little bit with that draw. Oh, he played the bank. The one's going to get away a little bit. I don't mind that play either.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to get a little better, capture a little better speed on the 1. Now,
yeah.
Omar looked like he wants to try and tear that 4 out here. I wouldn't lose emphasis on pocketing this ball myself.
I think the 3 goes by the 4 anyway.
Oh, he's playing safe. Wow. I didn't expect that. I thought he was shooting there. I mean, that was thin, but that's a shot that these guys usually take on.
Yeah. It was not a great safety. He's left him long.
Well, I think he was trying to go 2 rails into the 4 and let the 4 hold the cue ball. He kind of pointed the cue at the 4.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's elevating. I thought he would level out. Now he's coming 2 rails at the 4.
This will be a big shot if he hits it. Man, pretty.
Really pretty. And I think the 3 kind of goes by the 4, but it's super tight.
I think he's examining it. I think it goes too.
Reminds me of a shot I had years ago in the U.S. Open, actually, and it was on the 3 ball as well. The hard part is you can sit here and say it goes, but you still have to hit it about perfect, right?
Right. And the 3 ball is absolutely the worst ball on the table always to play position for. When it's on the rail, near the side pocket, those are unforgiving. And players always try to chip those off of there when possible.
Ooh, this is going to work out, even though not intended.
He didn't play it for that way, but it actually turned out great.
In my opinion, he got, for a tight one that needs to hug the rail, as long as he doesn't let up on it, that doesn't mean blast it, but go ahead and put a nice accelerating stroke. I think he got in the absolute perfect position for this ball to hug the rail. When you're straight, it's actually harder for it to hug the rail, but when you're a hair off, it should just glide.
Yeah, interesting. Well, you can see it has to hug the rail. There's no forgiveness on this one.
Yeah, and like I said, again, just don't let up. That doesn't mean blast it, but just don't guide the cue. He tried to draw the ball. I thought he would roll that in a little more, like, just go forward a little bit. Because, like I said the other day, whenever you have a froze ball and you try to come backwards, easily that ball wants to come off the rail. Well, it's now or never for Omar, huh, Mark?
Yep, he's got to stifle. This is, I think, 7 games in a row he's lost.
No, he's not. Oh, he did get there. That's an interesting play with the heavy inside. He could have come across on top of the 9 pretty easily and, had a reasonable shot and a nice angle on the 4. I thought that was a little risky with the heavy inside. If he catches the 8, he doesn't get there. Can't remember what he was down last night, but he was down pretty good last night to make a comeback.
Back cut here. He has to decide to go underneath the 6. That's his plan.
Omar can only just try and get out here, and then got to watch James break the balls. It will be game number 12.
They made sure he got off the rail there. He can reach it easily. Omar pulls the game back. He now has 3. Aranas 8.
Well, a little mistake there from James, but tell you what, called the timeout and he came back and got a game on his side, right? So
Got some great graphics here. That's one thing that's really different than what you see with other productions. You don't see the stats updated and the score listed nicely.
yeah, live stats.
It's such a sophisticated production here. When Mark Kendall was here, he just was amazed and blown away. And he's a big Accu-Stat customer from the inception when we used to use VHS tapes.
Jerry Breeseth now here. I didn't realize he must have just arrived.
Last night I saw him.
Okay.
Yeah, we were laughing there. Nick Varner was sitting there, Stu Matana, then Bobby Chamberlain. It was like, holy moly, there's about 300 or 400 years worth of experience.
Yeah,
Great players.
I like Jerry. He's always been very pleasant to me. Does a lot for our sport. Always has. 8-3 now for Aranas. This has been his biggest tool so far, probably. Of course, some great play, but the break certainly hasn't hurt.
Did he get a shot here? If he did.
But he'll go for the jump here, I believe.
Oh, you think he's hooked? I thought he might. Oh, let's see.
Oh.
A non-compliant.
Oh, the 7 must not have got there. Is the 7 not over the head string? Because the 8 certainly crossed the head string going up the table. So we'll get a look here. Looks like the 7's just short. So we're playing anything touching is, counts as a ball behind the head string and a complying ball. Yeah, I don't think he could pass this up, even though he's got to kind of hit it light not to draw up table. It's kind of a funny shot because if you land on it, cue ball's gone like that. I think if the 5 was open, I think Omar cuts this ball in. As crazy as that sounds, he is one. He can do it when it comes to cutting the ball.
Uh-huh.
Gonna put the 3 behind the 6, cue ball behind the pink 4. Now watch how these, again, how they settle at the same time, Mark. When you're shooting this shot, that's kind of the feeling you should get.
Yeah.
This one, he needs just a flick of right English, just a little bit. Oh, he's going somewhere else now, I think. Maybe up on the 9.
It's a long way to travel, that secondary objective, but you're right. That's what he tried to do. Good job.
Yeah, now James would love to kick at this, jump at this, do something, but not disrupt the 5-6. Hard proposition.
Right.
Would you kick across between the 4-9 and just kind of lay on the 3, Mark? One rail, like just side rail across the spot,
It's only a get through the inning, and you're probably going to get the worst of that exchange if you do, even if you land right on it, because.
Yeah, but you're not breaking up the 5-6 is my point.
True that. Yeah.
Now, the good thing about this kick is, what about one rail? Just bump, huh? Try and lay the 3 behind it. Yeah. This is the right shot. I don't know if it'll turn out, but it's definitely the right shot. Oh, he missed all of them. Didn't expect that.
Well, it was a circumstance that has a lot of negative implications, so he thought this was the best percentage. If he hits it just right, he can come out of this on top.
I think that was the right shot he just shot.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I like that better than the one I was discussing, that's for sure. Okay, be aggressive with the bump off the rail here. Got no reason to not bounce a good diamond up. So for the first time maybe in this match, Al-Shaheen has a good chance to win 2 games in a row. Very straight stroke. Al-Shaheen.
Yeah, I like the way he's being thoughtful and careful. He knows that he can get out, and he knows he can just bump it away from the rail and manage anything, but rather he's playing for an exact location here.
And I kind of feel like he's trying to gain a pace that he feels like is going to kind of grind this deficit out and come back and win this match. Knows he can't afford any more mistakes, that's for sure, but almost like Grabe did yesterday, right? Kind of got control of the rhythm even though he was down the pace of the match, and
battled right back.
he sure did.
You said it, sometimes matches turn around where you get enough turns, and that's exactly what Dennis Grabe did. First third of the match was completely against him, and then he gutted out a couple of really tough runouts, and then things kind of fell his way a little more. But of course, you had to play good behind it, which he did do.
Yeah, I talked to him a little bit last night. I think he's in a good spot mentally. He's going to be a tough guy today.
8-4. I think he's our next match too. If I called him out earlier.
Yeah, him and Dennis. 2 Dennises.
Be looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I made a prediction of Dennis and Shane in the finals. I think I do have a chance of that happening. That was my pre-tournament prediction, but what I see is it's stone gambling between the 8 left.
That call is a good one. And everybody's playing well, but those guys just seem a little bit more like they're on a mission. Shane and Dennis, and that's naturally the easy call because you can say, well, that's always happening. But just here, you can see both of them working so hard. And I mean, over the last 2 days, nobody's hit as many balls as Dennis or Colo. Nobody.
Yeah.
The only thing you could do, you could maybe be tied with him, but you couldn't have hit more.
Yeah, Dennis, the more balls he hits, and to be honest with you, he's had some years where he didn't play some of the bigger events. I think some of the nerves at the beginning were kind of settled in. I could see that at the U.S. Open, even though he played great, he was still battling his nerves a little bit. All these guys are human, right?
Right.
But I think as he gets more settled, he's a lot of them think that a lot of the players. I was talking to Mario He and Dennis Grabe last night, and Dennis is just a guy that they just hold on such a high pedestal when it comes to whose game is where and who's the best player and whatnot. And they kind of all know, though, if Dennis shows up, they're probably a little underdog, no matter who they are, except for Shane, maybe. Or there's other guys too. Albin Ocean, of course, how well he played last night against Filler, and he's a guy that always shows up in the big matches, it seems. But hey, a little opportunity here, right?
Yep, it was a quality break.
Now this, you have to make a decision. I like the one rail if I can do it, and I just have the angle coming at the 3 the entire time. That's especially when I have to get over for the 4. If you come 2 rails, you let up a little bit, you could, with inside, you could get straight, or if you overhit, you could get really thin. So I'd prefer one rail if it's possible. If it's not, I understand. All right, he came to 2, and that's what I mean, Mark.
Yeah. Now he's got to make a really good stroke. It's going to be high right, but then he can't just roll it in either. He's going to have to. It's got to be a big stroke. So.
He's drawing it.
Oh, power draw.
I think he's drawing it. Well, he kind of cued back at the bottom rail, like, let me hit here.
Oh, okay. You're right. I still think he's going to rethink this.
Well, table does draw nice.
But man, this is not an easy ball to get on the 4. You got to load that up with some left English too.
Yeah. Which actually helps the angle kind of get off the rail a little bit more. The left does, I think, anyways. Oh, too much,
man.
Maybe too much. Oh, he got to the other side of it.
I think that's where he was going. What a nice shot. Boy, he made that look smooth. I thought it was flatter than that. So, and I was looking right down the line. So that means he had a particular part of the pocket, high velocity, low left English, and smooth stroke.
Yeah, and he's got a powerful stroke, and you alluded about that extra length, and that always goes with weight in the cue, right? So maybe that helped the movement of the cue ball a little bit. Now he's going to get a little off angle here. Going to make a decision. Could he roll forward easily and bump the 7? That's what I like if he can do it. Just keep it simple. You don't want to be bumping balls, but when it makes sense, oh, he can go past it. Okay, nice shot.
And he was able to do that with control, because if you try to bump the 7, you can thin the 7 and then get over on the side cushion and really mess up everything.
Yeah, you could get over the top of the 7. Sometimes that object
too.
ball carries with the cue ball. Well, I see a big difference in his pace. That's for sure.
Well, it's hard to get a rhythm when the other guy breaks and runs 4 times.
Right.
I mean, you're always waiting 2 games to even get up there.
Yeah, he's been very on point, though, since he's taken that time out.
Good work here by Al-Shaheen. His 3rd break and run out of the match. 8-5 is now our score.
3 in a row for Al-Shaheen.
After suffering 7 in a row from Aranas. Go rack track. There it is. There's 4 break and runouts to open the match, and then Aranas went on a tear there, won 6 more consecutive games. Now given 3 back. And look at Al-Shaheen's TPA here. 875, he's up to 7 errors, 43 balls or 49 balls pocketed.
That's right.
I did go and buy new glasses, so thank goodness. I lost mine the other day, which I never do that. But then used to be I could muddle along and get along without them, but there was no joking on this time. Time has slipped by here, and the vision is not sufficient.
Yeah, I understand.
I have to get my flashlight out, my camera out to read anything. It used to be I could just see it, no problem.
All right, he had a non-complying break in the last, so he doesn't want that, of course.
He's good this time. Might not have a good shot on the 2, but
he doesn't have a good shot on the 2, but I think it may be one he takes on. If he can avoid the scratch, the cue ball's kind of coming 2 rails at the 8 and the 3. I don't know what he can do with it, but I think with his smooth stroke, he can beat the scratch, actually. Now, I wouldn't blame him if he played the safety here, but
it just doesn't look like there's enough reward to go after this is the problem.
Yeah.
You either play safe now or you play safe then.
Maybe. I think, though, he does maybe open the 8-3 if he pockets this 2 ball, if he can avoid his scratch. I'm trying to see what the safety is, though. Man, the safety's tough.
Yeah.
Maybe,
no, you're right.
In a perfect world, maybe bank the 2 between the 5-9 up the table and come over and use the 7, I guess. You could catch the 9 going by. This is touchy here. I think that's probably the shot, though. Go through the 2 ball, trying to use the 7, put the cue ball behind the 7, bank the 2 back up.
Yeah, you called it.
It's about all he had, I think.
It's either going to be a jump or a window.
Maybe a window.
Right. It's going to be one or the other here.
Yeah, and he knew that it was a touchy situation. Didn't leave no hanger, though, as far as he has to move the cue ball around the 6, it looks like 3 rails to get to the 3 for the lower left.
So it appears that he can go straight at the 2 then.
That's what I think, yeah.
There's a 1-pocket cross-corner bank, too, if he doesn't have that. It's a big stroke here, high, right English. Look how good he hit that ball.
And he's going to land on the rail, which is not too uncommon on that shot, believe it or not, because you want to get by the 6, but you don't want to blast the 2 and miss it, right? Yeah, so seems like falling on the rail happens a lot, and now I don't know if he can get to the 4 is the issue. Is he going to duck here? I think he's ducking here, Mark. No reason to shoot at this 3 with no 4 ball in mind.
Right.
Wants to hit the 5 and not fluke a ball in.
Nice contact there. That shot reminds me of my dad's axiom. He'd look at me and go, don't dig where there's no potatoes. If you can't win with that shot, what are you playing it for?
I try to kick this one in by the 5 myself. I think you can get a good feeling of the shot. I mean, there are some kick safeties that are mild, right? Putting the 3 behind the 5 maybe, but unless you get the snooker, you're going to take away the worst of it.
He did that thing where he tried to spin down into it to get separation if he hits it thin.
And could have had the 9-ball. The 9-ball could have helped him there. But this was what I was talking about. I mean, if you kicked and play the mild safety, unless you get really fortunate and get the complete hook, you're probably going to take the worst of it. This is going to leak a little bit. It's going to leak a little bit here. This is important. These are important shots. At this level, you don't want to let them see the ball.
This is the difference of how the game has evolved. It used to be if you just got this shot, that was considered a good safety. But not at this level anymore. You cannot there's too good at wiggling out of these circumstances.
And fluking balls in. There's a big one.
You know, that very predicament right there, Jeremy, if you're going to really play at a high level, you should practice extracting yourself from that circumstance, because I'd say 2/3 of your innings are going to begin end rail, end rail. So you might as well start getting good, but it's not glamorous practice, so most of us shy away. We just want to whack balls into the pocket. But that's not really the case. All these guys pocket balls well. That's the billiard side of it that you need to work on.
Yeah, moving the object ball, and then the other one that we talked about that I feel the Euros do better than the Americans is shaving off the ball and running it behind other balls.
It always amazes me that when it's that ugly circumstance, much like Al-Shaheen had, how good, or Aranas had, I'm sorry, he fluked it inside, how good these good players are at somehow getting themselves back, that they do not lose on that inning.
Yeah.
You know, but boy, do you have to fight hard.
Yeah, and that was a big fluke there in the side for Aranas, but you know, if you look at the overall picture of the match, you know, some early mistakes from Al-Shaheen, he probably had to dodge a little luck, you know, coming late, right, to make this comeback, you know. So whether it be, you know, Aranas kicking out of a safety of Al-Shaheen's, but here it was fluking a ball in. It's not the one we see most of the time. Usually it's a kicking exchange that someone gets the best of it on, but you know, that's why you build a lead, right? And, you know, you can suffer a few games. Maybe you get a little fortune coming down the end. 3 easy balls here, though. Get them to the hill.
It's nearly inevitable, too. If you start off good, there's going to be some adversity coming. Rarely do you just go wire to wire and I just dominated this if you're playing at this level. Nice game there. Aranas moves on to the hill. You ever hear guys say this? They'll go like this. They go, you know, I play better against better players. Yeah, when I play bad players, I just don't play good. But the reality is, after inspection, no, that's not really true. The good player doesn't allow you to look as bad as you really are, because you don't get that many innings. So you look kind of good, you know, because you don't really get exposed. You play bad players, then we really see.
Yeah, but I think there is also a little bit of that. You know, they get a little more focused, right? When they play a better player, a little more drive to win, you know. So,
that too.
Yeah, what I see is it usually works one way or the other for them. Like they either actually play a really poor match, you know, like a lesser player maybe, or they play the match of their life, whether they win it or lose it, you know, kind of thing.
And I was being a little humorous.
Yeah, of course, but it's true, though. It's true what you said.
And the other part of it is when you see guys like at this level, they play this level no matter who they're playing. It has not, because it's not like you turn it off or on. You're either building it or you're diminishing it.
Right.
Here's our break stats. 7 for 7 for Aranas. He's looking good. And 4 for 7 for Al-Shaheen.
Well, one thing about, you know, we try to play it all the same, but we all know that there are opponents through our career that have held over us, and there are ones that we hold over a little bit, you know, for one reason or another, get the rolls. I happen to always play good against them, really well against them, you know.
Yeah.
And as those match scores grow, that almost becomes even more decisive or more of a fact, because, you know, I can pick out a couple players that, you know, I wouldn't say got me mentally, but they must have, because they kept beating me a little bit. Johnny Archer cost me the most money in tournaments, but There's a few that,
Right.
people would label were better players than me, but I had an incredible record against them. And as I beat them more, it seemed like it was easier to beat them again.
Yeah.
So it's a funny game. Okay, is that going to slow down a little bit for him? Okay, no side spin, so that's good.
Let's do a little calculation here because it looks like he may rub the 3-ball here.
Close enough, he should be able to draw by it. Just make sure you get an accurate hit on the 7 is all. Okay.
He's got a problem here. Nope.
And that first shot looked a little dangerous, you might say, on the 1, but I don't, you said with the other ball there, that 3 being there, it was nice to be able to get close to that 2-7 combo.
Mm-hmm.
Important shot here. Don't want to get thin on the 5. Uh-oh. All right, he's gotten a little thinner than he wanted. He's going to have to draw his cue ball. Now, if he falls straight in, which he almost needs, the 8 could be trouble in a moment. See, he needs straight in, right? Pretty much.
Yeah.
So now he's still got to make a decision on the 8.
Guys just pull it back in front of the side pocket where they can cue it and accept that it's going to be ugly. No, he went forward.
Oh, he got out a lot, too.
He did.
Nice shot there.
That was that ball on the rail in the other side pocket that's so ugly, and he handled it well. Good speed here. Well, this would be Al-Shaheen's 4th break and run out of the match.
Boy, he hardly ever hits top on the 9. No matter if it's tight or not, he really likes wrapping the corner.
9-6 is our score now. We have 2 more quarterfinal matches. Tomorrow we'll have the semifinals and the final.
We have 3 more, right? 3 more.
3 more. I'm sorry. Did I say 2?
2, yeah.
Okay, my bad.
We have 1 more here in the afternoon. We'll have a little break for the Hall of Fame induction. And I believe we're back at 7:30 tonight.
Yep, 7:30 and 9:30 will be the evening rounds.
To kick it off, I believe, to start the evening, SVB and Ruslan. And watch out for Ruslan. I'll tell you, I've been paying attention to him. Of course, good friend of mine, and I really like the guy a lot. Big fan of his, but was a little shaky in Vegas. Didn't play his best. Got a little better in Ohio, but he'd tell you that, from the start of Ohio till the end, where I think he was a semifinalist, or maybe he was was he a finalist? He was semifinalist. Played well. But then here, I haven't really seen a shaky match at all. So I think Shane, of course, who has arguably played as well as anyone, got his hands full.
Aranas getting another chance to break here on the hill. Speaking of Ruslan, there's not many guys that play great that are way taller than Jeremy Jones, but Ruslan's one of them.
Yeah,
he might be 6'6" or something. You think?
6'4", 6'5" for sure. Yeah, 6'5" probably. He might be 6'6".
He's big because I'm 6'3.5", and he's pretty big.
He's over
bigger
you,
than me. Yeah.
I think he's got the 2 ball. It's awfully tight. The 3 does go on the side. What's the 4 look like, Mark?
It looks like there's
okay.
just enough. Yeah, just enough to get it in there.
So really maybe the shot to end the match here, if he hits this in, gets pretty dressed up on the 3. Ooh, squeezed it home.
Yeah, it's a tough shot. Look at where he fell. Pretty nice.
Yeah. So just a matter of keeping your attention here. Not a difficult layout. A little bit of cue ball movement from the 5 to the 6 here in a moment, but everything else is pretty short. Short shots. Don't hit the 4 going in.
That shot was a little bit more work to it than you might imagine to begin with. You think, well, they're right there. Well, you got to hit that pretty precise. You better be careful. He worked the cue ball nicely there and picked up the angle that trajects the cue ball towards the 6, 1 cushion. This will be just a little bit below center, probably a little bit of right-hand English. Now he's coming right at the 6.
Yeah. You know, he'd love to play for the corner, but I would play for the corner even if I had to put a hair of inside here. I don't think a whole lot's needed, and you can handle a little bit of an angle on the 7. But if he elected to move the ball a few rails for the side.
Oh, I think he's 2 rails to the back to the center. Yeah. Oh, no, he was inside spin. You were right.
Yeah. Didn't look like it really needed that much, but he wanted to get nice and heavy on the 7, and I don't blame him. All right, he should just pinch it. No reason to force to the rail, in my opinion. Slick felt easy to really hold the ball.
And now this is match ball. Quality performance. Al-Shaheen here at 8-8-1 and 9-11 for Aranas. That was his 5th breaking run out of the match there, Jeremy.
Well, hard to get beat doing that, right, Mark?
Exactly.
Yeah,
you are a tough man.
Puts a lot of pressure on the opponent, and he wants to continue that into what will be a semifinal match tomorrow.
Well, this has been another edition of World Class Pool brought to you by Accu-Stats, the worldwide leader in billiard programming. That's our time for this time. So long for just a while.